This week's Parshas Shoftim, speaks about obviously Sanhedrin and things of that nature. And there is a question here that the Abarbanel poses. Why is it that Torah issues and questions would not come about through a Navi, through a prophet? The Torah makes it very clear that the resolution of any halachic issue must be Bezdin Sanhedrin, and the Rambam in his Hakdama to Pirush Mishnayos speaks very strongly about it, emphasizes the fact that Nevuah has absolutely no say in halacha whatsoever. And the question is why? One would expect that Moshe Rabbeinu was the ultimate Navi. He's the one who gave us the Torah. So anytime there would be a question or an issue, we ought to go to Navi and see what he says. That is the question that the Abarbanel brings. And the Abarbanel, as he usually does, brings different opinions. He's sort of a bit of an anthology. And here he brings also different opinions about it. And each and every one of these answers are very important answers, and we'll go through them. The first one is from the Drashas Ahron, who says that a Navi cannot just pick himself up and say, I will prophesize. He has to be prepared for it. It's a process. And therefore, we're never sure if a Navi will be around and available. We have an important child to ask. It's not just where a Navi thinks into the issue and so on. He prepares himself to have a Nevuah. He may not be available. Similar to that would be the understanding that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew that Nevuah would come to an end at some point, which would in effect leave us without recourse to an halacha resolution. And that is one answer. A second answer is that it would blur the line between Moshe Rabbeinu and other Nevi'im. One of the most important animaimens is the unique nature of Moshe Rabbeinu's prophecy. And the reason why that's so important is because if anyone comes along and tries to upend it, we don't have to ask ourselves were this prophet's signs correct or not. The very fact that he's trying to opine on a halachic matter makes him automatically Navi Sheker. That's what Rambam says very strongly. So I emphasize this point. In other words, Nevuah's Moshe Rabbeinu must be kept in a very different plane. If it would be the norm that for halachic issues we would go and consult with a Navi, then the line between the two would become blurred, and therefore we would not have the proper attitude and respect towards Torah's Moshe. A third reason is that Bezdin, besides ruling on fundamental issues, also rules on an incredible amount of disputes in Torah and ordinary halachas and so on like that. If the Navi was to become the one who can override Bezdin on halachic matters, then we would cease to have the appropriate respect for the Psakim of Bezdin. Now, the parasha starts at Shoftim v'Shoftim, the importance of having Batei Dinim in every place, and people can enforce those Psak Dinim. The day-to-day issues of life revolve around Batei Dinim, and therefore doing anything that would possibly diminish the authority of the Batei Dinim is something that is not what we want to do. A fourth reason is and this is a fascinating reason, that the if if Torah would come about through prophecy, people would stop being misyagea. They would stop breaking their heads and laboring hard to get the right answer, and that would destroy any type of emelas b'Torah. So, in order to preserve emelas b'Torah, we do that. It's very fascinating. There's a story there from Chaim Volozhin, brings from the Gaon. You can't get more reliable than that. He writes that they came to the Gaon many times, malachim, magidim, to teach him divrei Torah, and he refused to learn from them, saying that instead Torah needs to be acquired through amal and yigia, through working and laboring hard. The working and laboring hard in Torah, it produces the right answers for the question. It also has a profound effect on the person that something gotten easily wouldn't. And therefore, it is through Sanhedrin who come to the answer through their understanding, through their laboring, as opposed to just reaching out for it, is the reason why that became the ultimate psak. And finally, he gives a fifth teretz, which really avoids the question, and that is, the Gemara says, a chacham is aref minavi, a wise person is better than a prophet, and the Gemara shows how the words, the understandings of the extremely wise people has a touch of nevuah, prophecy, associated with it. If we think long and hard about something, we can come up with an answer that is prophetic in its nature. This is extraordinary, and the Gemara says, like, you'll have two chachamim will come up with the same result, even though they're very far apart, and so on, and for the same reason. That those are all signs that it's coming from somewhere else, which means that in effect, the laboring and the working hard at understanding becomes a conduit for receiving divine inspiration in the answer. So in a certain sense, ultimately, a chacham does have nevuah with it. It says, Kimnitza badas keil, that in the Sanhedrin, there's Ashros Ashchina and a Siyata D'Shmaya to bring that right answer. So in effect, we have the best of both by having the appropriate platform, the Bezdin, Sanhedrin, working or laboring at getting the answer. We have an answer as a result of human labor and the result of some sort of nevuah. So summing up, basically, the Rabbi presents a question: why is the highest instance of ruling on Torah matters in the purvey of Bezdin, not a prophet? So one answer is because prophecy is not something that we sum it up instantly, and also it was known that prophecy would come to an end at some point. Secondly, it would erode the absolute authority of Moshe Rabbeinu's Torah. Third of all, it would erode the authority of Bezdin as such. And even though we'd have a source for the major halachas known to prophecy, on day-to-day matters, we need Bezdin's ruling and people to adhere to it. Finally, we have an answer that tells us that we would lose out on emelas b'Torah. People would stop toiling and studying, and therefore we would not have that extraordinary process that really changes a person. We would just expect to get it min hashamayim, albeit by doing wonderful things and tzidkis, but not emelas b'Torah. And finally, his final answer is that it's not really a question at all, because in every ruling of the wise, there is a touch of prophecy to it. So in effect, whenever you have the ruling of a Bezdin, the Sanhedrin, you have with it a skiff of prophecy as well.